Kaisa's Baba looked at her with eyes wide open. He did not seem to believe her at all. He was still holding the cricket's bat and still looked ready to hit her at any moment. Baby had recovered from her fainting spell now and was surrounded by her daughter and granddaughters, Kaisa's sisters. She was the first one to bring some calm to the mayhem that broke right after Kaisa knocked on the door. Her baby stood up slowly and, despite having her granddaughters trying to hold her back, she approached the front door and then Kaisa, who was still sitting down and almost in tears. Baby came closer, then squinted her eyes as if she was trying to figure something out. She then asked, almost unsure of the possibility of what she was asking, "Kaisa?" "Yes, baby, it's me. Why are you all acting so weird? Is this because I came home late?" Kaisa said. "Oh, child," Baby said with a sad look on her face. "What have you done?" "Wait a minute, this is not Kaisa. This is not my little girl. Baby, I think you need new eyeglasses. Or maybe you need some rest. Girls, help Grandma get to bed." That was Kaisa's father speaking. "Baba, it's me," Kaisa pleaded, on the verge of tears. "I am not tired and I don't need new glasses," Baby objected in reply to Baba. "This is Kaisa, indeed. Look at her birthmark." In her fall, Kaisa's long skirt had been pulled up, revealing part of her mid-calf, and right there was her unmistakable birthmark, in the shape of a crescent moon, or a smile, or a banana, depending on who you ask. The mark had been one of her special features since birth. They all gasped in horror and dismay. Kaisa's mother was crying, so were 3 of her sisters. Her father's eyes were still wide open, so wide open that they were now protruding, and his frozen stance was reminiscent of a Makonde statue. "What is going on?" Kaisa thought. Why were they all sad to see her? She was starting to believe something terribly wrong had happened. "Why are you all staring at me like that? Is it because I'm late?" "I didn't mean to be. I'm sorry," Kaisa sobbed. "Oh, Kaisa," Baby started. "You have no idea, do you?" Idea of what? Kaisa thought for a moment. She was getting scared. She simply shook her head no. "Imba, please bring the large mirror," Baby ordered. 2 minutes later, Kupika and Imba brought back the largest mirror in the house, the one located in the hallway, the one where they all took a last look at themselves every Sunday before church. It rested on a pedestal that pivoted as needed. The 2 sisters brought it over to their baby with a mournful look on their faces. Then Baby flipped it toward Kaisa. Kaisa almost passed out herself. The person, or rather the thing she saw in it, was nothing short of a messy mix of human features. She stepped back in shock before disgust overwhelmed her. What had happened to her? Who was that? Right there in the mirror was her reflection, or some reflection rather. For a start, she was at least 7 feet 5 inches tall, which was taller than the tallest man in the country. Her head was huge, over twice its regular size. The palms of her hands were almost as big, but her fingers were very thin and slender, making them look almost alienish. Her torso was very wide, and her shoulders as wide as the wingspread of a pelican. And her legs, oh, her legs, they were very long and very muscular. In fact, her entire body was very muscular, just like a bodybuilder. Kaisa let out a horrified cry and fell to the ground again, sobbing uncontrollably. Her sisters started crying too, as they slowly came to the conclusion that it was indeed their beloved youngest sibling. Baba did not know what to do or say. After a few minutes, Bibi finally came close to her and tried her best to wrap her arms around her. She was ginormous. "Calm down, child, calm down. Everything will work itself out, you'll see," she tried to reassure her granddaughter. Kaisa was not too sure about that. How was everything going to be okay? She turned into a monster, she thought. However, Bibi's soothing voice always made things seem a little bit more bearable. Bibi led her inside the house, making sure she ducked pretty low as she did so. The singing competition show The Voice was still playing in the living room, where most of the family members were gathered prior to Kaisa's arrival. Baba turned it off. He had finally thawed from his previous phrase. They put two of the living room couches together to allow Kaisa to sit and lean back. Bibi was the first one again to speak. "Kaisa, where have you been today?" she asked. "It's almost 9 p.m. "I went for a walk on the beach," Kaisa replied. She was still sobbing. "Okay, now, I need you to tell me exactly what you did at the beach. This is very important and can help us figure out what happened to you," her Bibi continued. "I didn't do much. I just walked for a little while. Then I sat on a rock and fell asleep. I didn't mean to sleep for very long, but I did. I'm sorry," Kaisa replied. "You fell asleep, you said?" Bibi said with a look of deep concern. "Yes, I guess I must have been pretty tired," Kaisa simply replied. "Now, what were your thoughts right before you fell asleep?" Bibi asked. Kaisa's father, mother, and siblings' heads kept going back and forth between her and Bibi, as if they were watching a tennis game. It was obvious they had no clue why Bibi was asking all those questions and what it had to do with Kaisa's new condition. Exasperated, Kaisa's mama finally asked, "Bibi, what is it? Why should it matter what she thought?" she asked her mother. Bibi rolled her eyes at her daughter. She could never understand how, despite all her attempts at teaching her the ways of their ancestors and the laws of their land, her daughter still did not get it. "This is why your daughters know nothing about the ways of the land and are too westernized. You are clueless, aren't you?" she asked Kaisa's mama. "Clueless about what?" Kaisa's mama said. Bibi let out a tired sigh, then proceeded to explain. "See, some special people have to be careful when they fall asleep at the beach. It is said that those of us with very pure souls have a deep connection with the ocean, and whatever they ask with pure intent, the ocean will provide without constraint," she announced. Then she turned to Kaisa. "Kaisa, child, you have a great gift. A gift you obviously are not aware of," she said that last part with an accusatory look toward Kaisa's mom. Then she continued, "Your name is more than just a name. It means purity, the greatest purity of all, indeed. the purity of the soul. Whatever you ask the ocean before you fall asleep at the beach, the ocean will give to you. Now, I'm asking you again, what were your thoughts before you fell asleep at the beach? Kaisa concentrated very hard to remember exactly what she had been thinking earlier at the beach. And then it all came back to her. The strength, the speed, the singing and cooking and everything. She gave her baby a terrified look and revealed, "Hey, baby, I asked for everything." "What do you mean, everything?" her baby asked with a confused look. "Before I fell asleep," Kaisa started, "I was daydreaming about being able to have the most of all the talents my older sisters have. I wanted to be the best cook, best hair braider, fastest, best bead worker, tallest, strongest, best singer, best dancer, best swimmer, smartest person in Pangani, and even the country," she continued, then burst into tears. They all fell silent. That explained it. The huge head was because of all the smarts, the wide shoulders for the swimming, the wide palms for making flat bread, the legs for running, the muscles for strength, the thin fingers for braiding and beading, the big palmed feet and wide shoulders for swimming, and large torso for the strong lungs to allow her to sing. Kaisa never imagined in her wildest dreams that having it all meant being so different. She was not herself anymore. She wanted to be back to normal, with or without any talent. Her baby and other siblings tried to comfort her as best as they could, but Kaisa couldn't stop crying. What was she going to become? She asked herself. "No one will want to be around me looking like this," she said in between outbursts of tears. "Come on, Kaisa, you will be all right," her baby said. She paused for a moment, then continued. "There is a way to revert the curse or gift, however you choose to call it." Everyone looked at Baby with eyes full of hope. Baby had a way of making people wait for answers for what seemed like eternity sometimes. If she knew how to fix Kaisa's problem, why didn't she say so earlier? "Hey, Mama," Kaisa's mom started. "If you know how to fix it, please don't make us wait. Please tell us now, I beg you." Baby was still hesitant for a minute or so. Then she said, "There is a way to fix this, but it is very risky. We could lose Kaisa forever," she started. "See, if she wants to give the ocean's gifts back, the ocean can feel offended and retaliate on her or even on all of us. The ocean's wrath comes in the form of a big tsunami that can engulf our beautiful town just like that," she said, clapping her fingers. "We can bargain with the spirit of the ocean by either giving her our purest soul, which is Kaisa, or let her live in her new state forever. But whatever we do, someone will lose something." Baby bowed down her head in utter sadness as she mentioned the last part. That's when Baba joined the crying fest. Oh, that meant the situation was very dire, because Baba never cried. He did not cry when he got hit by a distracted driver a few years ago and got his dislocated shoulder put back into place without anesthesia. Nor did he cry when he got his wisdom teeth pulled out without anesthesia. They even say that he did not cry when he was born or as a baby at all. Legend has it that he would just stare at his mama with big eyes and she knew immediately what he wanted. Yes, Baba was that much of a no-crier. But he was crying now, and crying loud. It looks like he had been saving all the tears in his body for this day. "So, what are we going to do?" Mama finally asked, looking at Baba and then Bibi. "We will do whatever Kaisa decides to do," Bibi said with conviction. "What do you want to do, Kaisa?" Bibi asked her. Kaisa had no idea what to do. One option would get her stuck as a horrible monster, and the other one could sweep away her entire community, including her family. She looked at her family, her beloved family, and her heart filled up with love for them. They had always been there for her no matter what. They had uplifted her from the very beginning. She looked at her Baba, who had carried her on his shoulders when she was little, had built them a nice house where food was always abundant thanks to his hard work. She looked at her Mama. Oh, Mama, she thought fondly. Mama was her entire world put together. She had been her pillar her entire life and had been present during all of Kaisa's most important milestones. Her first step, her first word, her first day in school, all of her achievements. Plus, she fed everybody, took care of the house while still running a successful fishing business with Baba, and she listened to everybody's little worries. She was a mama like no other. Kaisa looked at her baby next, her sweet baby, the best grandma anybody could ever ask for. Baby came to live with them when Kaisa was born. After her other baby died, she always had a kind word for everyone. She healed all the wounds, tended to any of them when they were sick, always had a natural remedy for everything, and was probably one of the funniest people in her family. Finally, Kaisa took a long look at her sisters, her beloved sisters. She loved them all so much. They had always been an inspiration to her, protecting her every time she needed it, making sure all her needs were met. They played with her, sang with her, laughed with her, and just adored her. Kaisa realized how ungrateful she had been all this time. Right there, in this room, were all the gifts she ever wanted. She could not bear the thought of losing any of them. Therefore, she took a few deep breaths and announced to everyone, "I have made my decision. I shall remain like this." Her mama bursted into tears. Her sisters took her in their arms. Well, they tried, considering how big Kaisa had become. They just wanted to show their support. Baba stayed quiet but had a look of admiration for his daughter, whom he thought was very brave. Bibi had the same look on her face. "Kaisa, I am so impressed by your kindness. You are willing to sacrifice your happiness and well-being for your family?" she asked Kaisa. "I know that so long as I have you all safe and sound, I will be happy," Kaisa replied. On that note, they all made plans for the night, making sure Kaisa was well accommodated for a new form. They hardly slept that night, all troubled by the big change in their family. Very early the next morning, Kaisa got up to use the bathroom, as she did every morning. She realized being an 8-year-old girl in Pangani would not be as easy as it used to be. She probably would not be able to play with her friends like she used to. She was way taller and way stronger than any kid around. She was probably even stronger than all the adults. She felt a little sad, but not too sad. If she could no longer play with her friends, that was okay. At least she still had her family. That put a big smile on her face as she made her way to the bathroom. On her way there, she saw her reflection in the hallway mirror, the same mirror that had revealed her new reality just a few hours earlier. There she gasped and yelled, "Baby!" waking up the entire household. Everybody rushed in, thinking that something had happened to her or that someone broke into the house. Baba showed up in his pajamas and yet another cricket bat in his hand, ready to strike. How many cricket bats did that man have? Kaisa wondered sometimes. When they saw Kaisa, they could not believe their eyes. She was back to normal. Little Kaisa was back to being the beautiful tiny little girl they all knew and loved. How was that possible? They all jumped for joy and hugged and kissed and cried. Tears of joy this time. What happened? How come you are back to normal? Mama asked joyfully. I don't know, Kaisa simply replied. Then their gaze turned towards Baby, in quest for an answer. If anyone could explain what had happened, it was certainly Baby. Well, Baby started, looking uncomfortable. I may have left out a little detail, she said. Baby, they all exclaimed in disbelief. I know, but I didn't want to get everybody's hopes too high, especially not Kaisa's, Baby defended herself. Kaisa's choice to put everybody else's well-being before her own did not go unnoticed by the spirit of the ocean. Her purity and immense compassion alone were enough to break the spell. I didn't want to mention that before because we have to wait until the morning to see if the person really meant what they chose. And in our Kaisa's case, she did. Bibi finished with a smile of relief on her face. In the end, Kaisa's gratitude and consideration for her family and community had prevailed over all the gifts she ever dreamed of. From that day on, she never ever complained about not having a gift or not feeling special, for she now knew what her gift was: the maturity and ability to make tough decisions. Yes, at the tender age of 8, Kaisa had developed the gift of wisdom, and hers was truly a gift. The end.